I see them in the shadows. I see them on my brain.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, No Mercy here. It's Tuesday night, so you already know what time it is. It's time for No Punches Pulled with me, No Mercy. Some of you probably already know who I am. For those of you that don't, I am your host, Brooke Millbrook, formerly known in the fight game as Brooke No Mercy Dierdorff. I am a retired professional boxer. I held the WBC lightweight title until I retired, and I was inducted into the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame in 2022. I personally have been through some good, some bad, and of course, a lot of BS in the sport of women's boxing. But welcome to my platform. This is where we talk the talk and we walk the walk. We will bring out the truth in women's boxing. You're going to hear from pioneers of the sport, past boxers, current boxers, even future boxers. We're going to get down and dirty and speak the truth of what takes place in women's boxing. You don't want to miss a single episode, so please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share so we can get some more people up in here listening to all these amazing stories. But tonight, guys, we have a special guest in the house. I'm sitting down with renowned retired IFBA Light Flyweight Champion, Sindy Scorpion Amador. In amateur, Sindy won the California Golden Gloves twice before turning pro in 2008. She dominated the professional boxing scene from 2010 to 2014, amassing an impressive record of 12-1-1. She triumphed over boxing legends and IWBHOF International Women's Boxing Hall of Famer as well, Carina Moreno, in only her 9th pro fight, despite Moreno's formidable record of 22-2 at the time. Her exceptional performance earned her the prestigious WBAN yearly award, recognizing her incredible talents and dedication to the sport. In 2013, she was ranked number 1 in the U.S. and number 3 in the world. She won the IFBA Light Flyweight title in 2013, solidifying her status as a true champion. She was recognized by the governor of Durango, Jorge Herrera, and received the keys to the city of Huntington Park. In 2014, she was selected as the only athlete to welcome the current president of Mexico, Enrique Pena Nieto, in his first visit to Los Angeles. Excitingly, she will also be inducted into the esteemed International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024. She has been on many radio and TV networks and writing as a boxing ambassador for different events. She's now working on bodybuilding and competing in wellness and working to promote the war against drugs by talking with youth to stay away from drugs and find something productive to do. Please help me welcome Sindy Amador to the show. Sindy, it's such a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here too and listen to everything that you were saying. It makes me tear. Like, it's amazing. It's sometimes I don't even know, or I don't even recognize what I did. But when you have, your biography or somebody that speaks about you, it's like, wow, amazing. Like,
I 100% feel you on that, because sometimes people will say something and be like, oh yeah, I guess I did do that. You kind of like forget about it, or it just kind of like doesn't seem real or special until someone else recognizes it. Then it makes you feel like more special and like, oh wow, like people do know, and not just like you're just another person on the street.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you've accomplished so much in a short amount of time. So I'm super excited to go over the journey with you and like hear your side of everything. I mean, I know all about you. I didn't really have to do much investigating because you were fighting at the same time as me. So it is what it is, but that's how it goes. But why don't you take us back to the beginning? Tell us a little bit about your childhood and your struggles that you faced as a young girl that you had talked to me about.
Yeah, well, I was born in Durango, Mexico, in July 13, 1984. My mom passed away when I was 8 years old, and it was hard being, the middle sister of three. My baby sister was only 2, and my oldest was 10. My dad remarried pretty soon, so it was a shock for me, losing my mom and having a stepmother right away and stepsisters and brothers. It was very hard for me. I was depressed. I was angry with life, obviously. My dad was very strict. He taught me how to work. He has business in Mexico. He raised me, very tough, just working like any other employee in his business. Then I discovered boxing because I was getting jumped in the street with
Oh, okay.
some girl. She was big, big, bigger than me, and I remember that she punched me with the feet,
Yeah.
and I was like, I came home like like all my hair all messed up and crying because I don't know how to defend myself. Then after that, I was like, I need to do something to learn how to defend myself. So I joined this gym. It was like 24 hours, something like that. But they have this boxing class, and I joined the class, and I really, really like, how they teach you how to do the jump rope, and it wasn't like a real boxing gym, but it was the beginning of something,
Yeah. Beginning techniques and just
Yes,
basics. Yeah.
yes, the basics exactly. Uh, yeah, so then I saw this girl doing the mid work. She was like skinny and tall, but she can punch. I mean, you can hear, the punch. Like, she had power,
Yeah.
and that inspired me. Like, I was like, oh, I want to be like her. Like, I want to punch that hard, and I want to do everything to become a great boxer. So then after that, like, I really liked the boxing so much, and my dad, actually, he was a boxer. He won the Golden Gloves in Mexico.
Okay.
So I talked to him, about my love for the sport, and he actually took me to this professional boxing gym in Mexico, in Durango, and yeah, I fell in love with the sport, and it was a all gym, like everything was, like all punching bags, and it was probably an ugly gym, but to me it was like magic. I
Yeah.
loved the smell of the gym. I just felt like it was everything to me. I
Yeah.
really liked the gym, and it was there was like all professional fighters there.
Yeah. I always tell people, and it's hard to find them now, but I probably was in a very similar to gym to the one you're talking about. It looks like a dump,
Yeah.
and it smells, and it's
Yes.
dirty and gross. But Windy City Gym in Chicago was the my main gym when I was pro. And yeah, it was all pros, and but I mean there was tons of different people in there, but it was gross. Like if a normal person walked in there, be like, this is disgusting and unhealthy.
Yes.
But that's a true gym, and they're very hard to come by nowadays. I haven't walked in a real gym in a very long time, probably over a decade, because they just don't make them anymore, or
Yes.
they've closed
Exactly.
down. It's hard to find them for sure. But yeah, that's a true gym. That's what that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So it was, hard. Like, I remember I got to the gym, and there was like no girls, obviously no woman. um and I remember this first trainer that he started showing me the basics, like how do this stance, the boxing stance, how do walk forward and backwards, throwing the jab. But then something happened because I started learning with him, and then he told me like he was gonna leave to USA, And I was very, very sad because I was like, now who's gonna train me? Who's
Right.
gonna, yeah. So then I remember like he left, and I was very sad. I had no trainer. Uh, and then there was this girl, I remember very good. She was like tough, and she was already a professional fighter.
Right.
So you used to look at her like you get intimidated, because she was already a professional fighter. The look that she has, like she was a badass.
Yeah.
And then they told me, okay, like you want to fight, so get in the ring with her. And I was like, I want to fight, so I don't care. So I stepped in the ring with her for the first time, and it was a disaster. Obviously, I don't even know how to do the boxing stance.
Right.
I was like chasing her, like running, trying
Just
to
throwing wild punches, just trying to hit her. Yeah.
yeah, and then I always had a problem with my nose. Like even the first touch, and I was like bloody, like
Yeah,
nonstop.
I feel
It
you.
was a
Me
mess.
too. Yeah.
It was a mess. And after that, I remember I came home. I was living by myself with my sisters at that time. I was probably like 15 years old. And I was like, oh no, she beat me, but I'm gonna get her next time.
Yeah.
And then they were like scared. They say like, no, you don't have to go anymore. Who cares? It's like it's dangerous. You're gonna get like hurt. And I was like, no, I'm gonna make her pay.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
gotta get her back for that.
yes, yes.
Maybe not tomorrow, but one day
One
I'm gonna
day.
beat her up.
Yeah, exactly. So then I started, like working hard and learning and learning. And then after she saw the way I train, like she never want to step in the ring with me anymore. She's like, I'm not silly. She knows how to fight now, so I'm not gonna risk it.
Yeah.
So
Nice. She just
yeah,
didn't want to take that ass whooping.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then after that, many things happen in my personal life. My dad, he had a hard life. He was an alcoholic, so he lost his business, and then he came here to USA to, better himself and start working. So I was, there with my sisters. I stopped going to the boxing gym because I had to work, to bring money to the house. And then I decided to came behind my dad, and used to look for a better life, to provide to my sisters that they stay in Mexico. So then when I got here to USA, I was just looking for a job. I started working. I even have like 3 jobs at the same time. I used to sleep for like 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
I was providing for my sisters. Then eventually I get in a better place. I start, I have a better job. I start driving, and then I look for a boxing gym because I felt that, I remember perfectly when I first stepped in a boxing gym in Mexico. I just knew in my heart that that's what I wanted to do. That I
Mhm.
wanted to be a fighter, and not only a fighter. I wanted to be a champion,
Yeah.
and I felt it in my heart, and I knew that was my destiny. I knew that would be like my happiness.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So when I came here and I was, more stable in my life, I looked for a boxing gym. But it wasn't easy. In my head, I thought, okay, I start, first I discovered boxing when I was 15 years old. I thought to myself, oh, when I turn 18, I'll be a world champion. Hell no, it's not that easy.
No.
It's not. It's just totally different.
Yeah.
Uh,
For women, it takes
yes,
a lot more.
exactly. For women,
Yeah.
yes. So then the transition to move from country to country, the adjustment with life and everything, very hard. Then I found like different boxing gyms in Riverside, California. But it's still like it's really hard. I was in and out different boxing gyms. it's hard to find a trainer that take you serious.
Yeah.
I went to a lot of harassment from
Yep.
different, guys, and until I remember I was doing amateur fights. It's hard too because I had my full-time job, and to go and have a fight you have to ask for the day off,
Yeah.
and then even if they pre-match the fight, sometimes they don't show.
Yeah.
You just lose your day at work and your money, and it was really hard for me, honestly, because boxing is expensive too,
Yeah.
and I had no support from no one but
Right.
myself. So then I was, my dream is still there. I know in my heart that I just had to give it up my all and train hard. And I thought to myself, someday my day is gonna come and I'm gonna turn pro. I will be professional fighter.
Yeah.
But then obviously, like, you get tired, like, I have these different trainers, and I never got fights. For amateur fights it was really hard. And
Yeah.
then uh, years pass by, and then you feel stuck. I'm just training and training, and I'm not getting enough fights. And you're getting old, honestly.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, I just want to turn pro because I'm not going to be wasting my time to look for amateur fights. If I felt that my style was more like a professional fighter than amateur fighter, I didn't have these careers like Carina Moreno or Sindy Estrada,
Yeah.
where they start from little girls. They grew with the sport.
Yeah.
To me, I was already a teenager when I discovered the boxing, and with so many responsibilities in life, like, it was hard for me to just focus on the sport.
Yeah.
Right.
But
So
despite
then,
all that, you still won the California Golden Gloves twice before turning pro.
yes, yeah,
So
it
that was
was.
a big achievement because the same thing. I only had, I want to say, maybe 15 amateur fights, and like most of them were at the gloves or the
Oh,
nationals that was in
yeah,
town,
because
because
we were
it
more
was hard to get.
right?
Yeah, it was hard
Yeah.
to get regular club show fights because there wasn't girls to match up with, or they didn't want to fight. So it
Yeah.
was hard.
And sometimes, there's obviously mismatches. This
Yeah.
girl can be like 10 pounds over you, and you don't care. You have to take the fight because, as long as
Yeah.
nobody say anything, like, you take
By
the
the way,
fight.
as long as you don't say anything, I don't care.
Yeah.
Just put me
Yes.
in with whoever, as long as I get a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, so you did decide to turn pro in 2008 when you met your trainer and your promoter manager. Can you tell us a little bit about meeting them and how that changed the dynamics of your career and led you to be able to become the champion that you are?
Sure. I turned pro in 2010, October. I actually took a year off from boxing because I was just, disappointed. And at that time, I was, I had a relationship. I was just enjoying myself, and I decided just to give it a break in boxing.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I just felt like empty. I was missing something. Everything was going great, but then I felt like I don't want to be just marry this man and just become a mom, and just like I want to be a boxer. I want to.
Yeah.
This is my dream, and I just cannot let it go. So I remember it was the start of Facebook, I believe. So I found Kalisha West. So I remember Kalisha was I was a sparring partner for her in some of the
Okay.
gyms. So she recognized me, and she's like, champ, you have to come back to boxing because you're gonna be a world champion, and you have a great story to tell to your grandkids.
Yeah.
And to me, like, heard that from Kalisha, because to me, like, Kalisha was like my hero.
Yeah.
She,
I love Kalisha. She's amazing.
her personality and vibe, and she was just like, oh wow,
That's
I
exactly
love
what I
it.
told her when she came on the show, because she was like you were one of my idols. I can remember the first time I met her at a show that she came to, I was fighting on in California, and came up to me and was like, "Oh my God," like she was all excited. And I was like, "I know who you are. Like
Oh,
you're big too. I know who you are. But yeah, I told her she's probably by far one of my favorite fighters I ever actually met, just because of her persona, her demeanor, like just the way she acts, the way she carries herself, like how
yeah,
she just has that I don't care, not like in a disrespectful way, but like we'll tell you straight how it is.
yes.
So yeah, she's just really down to earth. Like she's a truly good person.
Yes, she is. She is. And then I felt like, I remember though, before I found Kalisha again on Facebook. I remember I pray God because I felt so sad and empty in my heart. I felt that I was missing something. I was missing boxing. So I remember, like, I pray and I ask God, I just want to find the right team, the
Yeah.
right coach, somebody that guide me and see me as a fighter, not as a girl,
Yeah.
and somebody that respect me and believes in me and take care of me too. Because how many times you see trainers that they don't care about, if you take a beating, that's the way you learn, and that's
Yeah.
not truth. Everybody has limitations, and a good trainer has to know, like, how to take you, how to, you know take you
How to
step by
build you.
step.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So then Kalisha was like, okay, girl, I see you at the gym on Monday at this time. I went back to the gym, and in 2 months, after a year off, in 2 months, I turned pro. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, it
Yeah,
was
that's
just,
amazing.
yeah, it was a dream. Then after that, like, so many things happened to, in my understanding, I had a team, a boxing team, where it was Juan West, Kalisha's dad, and then it was Ruben Castañon and Charlie Perez, the manager. And to me, it was like a team. But
Yeah.
after my first fight, it was like, no, we're not a team. So you have to choose, like, you stay with Kalisha and West, or you sign up with us and we offer you this, and you're gonna become a world champion in 3 years. And to me, I'm a loyal person, and not only that, I love Kalisha to death, and I have a lot of gratitude, towards Juan and Kalisha West.
Yeah.
And it was a very hard decision for me to make. But in life, I mean, you have to make that kind of decisions. So
Yeah.
I decide is to go with a different trainer and manager.
Yeah.
And it was hard because, like, Alicia, I know she was hurt,
Yeah.
and I was hurt too. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But it's life, and in life, I mean, you have to make that kind of decisions for your own good, even
Yeah.
if
And I
it
mean,
sounds
if you don't have
selfish.
anybody there really explaining things to you or helping guide you on the right path, I mean,
Yeah,
it's really like flip a coin because
yeah,
what you don't know what would have happened had you stayed with Kalisha and her dad training and
yes,
then lost the promoter and the other trainer. Would you have been able to get fights? I mean, more than likely, yes, probably, because Kalisha had plenty of fights with her dad.
yeah,
So probably, but who knows if you'd have taken the same path. So
yeah.
I'm sure that Kalisha has no hard feelings toward you about that. And I'm sure she
Yeah.
understands. She probably just missed you.
Yeah, every time, I had the chance to thank Alicia, every time I see her in person, my love and gratitude will be always the same,
Yeah.
because of her, really, I got into boxing,
Yeah.
into
And it's really a
professional boxing.
shame. It's really a shame that they made you choose because
Yeah,
they all do that because they want you to themselves and they want to make the money and do all of that and not share the limelight or the exposure and all of that. But there is absolutely no reason that you can't. To me personally, I that's why I never signed with anybody. Um, but I worked with a lot of different coaches. I
yeah,
mean, my husband was my main coach after he got his coach's license. But I mean, I worked with Jesse Torres at the beginning of my career. He was a pro fighter. Then I worked with Sam Colonna, who trained. I mean, he's a very famous, no, like the biggest trainer in Chicago. Trained tons and tons of world champions. And I've been to probably 20, 30 other gyms, and I just take a little bit from everybody because they all teach you something different.
Yes, of course.
So but that was kind of like a nice freedom. Now, had I signed with someone, you wouldn't have the
Yeah,
luxury of being able to work with other trainers because they don't like that. They don't allow that. They want it just their specific people, period. That's
yeah,
it. But it's a shame because
yeah.
you could have learned, not that you needed, I mean, you became a world champion regardless, but you could have learned a lot more things, and maybe had some other opportunities working with them still. Plus, you'd have had a great sparring partner.
Yeah, yeah. I actually was her sparring partner when for her first championship belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I had the best sparring with her, and then like they knew everything about every single female fighter around.
Yeah, her dad, yeah,
Yeah,
knows everything
exactly.
about everybody
Yes.
for sure.
Yes. So, but it's life. I mean, and things happen and you have to just, move forward. And
Yeah,
I did. And yeah, I was pretty active in my career. I had, I fought 5 times in a year, twice in a month. I was very, very active because when my trainer told me is like, okay, you just have to make sure that you're gonna be open to work with us the way we do. And
yeah,
he's like, it's not gonna be no excuses. Once you close the door from the gym, is like you let everything outside the gym. All your problems, fears, whatever, you come here ready to learn and to fight.
yeah,
And I did. I felt that it was a great, great team. I was very happy. And yeah, so many things happened, through those years. I had a partner at that time, a boyfriend, and he actually became assistant from my main trainer. He learned so much about boxing that he was really really good doing the mid work and
yeah,
everything. He became part of my team, and then he was a great support, for me because he was in charge of the ticket sale, about my uniform and everything. Like I felt that I had somebody that supports me,
yeah,
and yeah. And but the thing is that when I think it was my probably my eighth nine fight, we broke up and everything was a disaster. Because not only like he was my best friend, he was part of my team, but then yeah, everything changed after that. It was weird that he was coming to the gym with his new girl and take her to my boxing events and my fights. It
that's
was a little
weird.
awkward and hard and sad. And but I remember my trainer told me like, don't worry about him. He's like, you're gonna keep fighting and you're gonna keep winning and you're gonna be a world champion regardless.
Yeah,
And that's what I did. That's what
yeah, it
I
just
did.
makes you it was very uncomfortable, I'm sure. Like
Yes,
he did it on purpose, clearly, to make you
of
uncomfortable.
course.
Yeah, typical
Yeah.
man. No
Yes.
offense.
Yes. Yeah.
No
But
offense to you. I'm
everything
just,
happens for a reason. So
yeah.
yeah.
But in your fourth pro fight, you faced Christina Fuentes, winning
Yes.
unanimous decision. But that fight was known as definitely a barn burner that had the crowd on their seat, edge of their
Yeah.
seats, clapping and cheering. She had you in the fight of your life from everything that it says. But it was completely action packed, kept everyone on the edge of their seats like a great movie when you're just on the edge, like waiting to see
Yeah.
what's going to happen. Was that your toughest fight of your career, or how do you feel that fight was?
I feel that it probably was at that time because it was a test, because they put me in this boxing car where they didn't allow to have female bouts,
Yeah,
but they put me in as a favor because to my coach because I think one of the fights got canceled, so they need somebody to
fill the spot. Yeah,
exactly. So my coach told me like this fight is very important because after this, it depends like your career. It depends if
Yeah.
they want you back or not. So you have to make sure that you do a good, a good job. And
Yeah.
yeah, so this girl, yeah, I didn't have a much experience, and neither her. And she was hard, I remember one of her punches, like it was like those punches where you feel the punch. Like I was like a little dizzy actually, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this girl, like she can hit. Like
Yeah.
maybe it was a while because at the beginning, like we don't have that good
Yeah. At
technique.
the beginning, when you first start, you kind of look
Yes, it's
like
more
you don't know what you're
emotional
doing
than
because you don't.
yes. Yeah. So then, yeah. I mean, I feel that it was a war. Like it was hard, and
Yeah.
it could go either way. Like it depends what the judges they see in a fight.
Yeah.
But to me, actually, after I think it was the trainer of this girl from New York, Heather Heath.
Heather. Okay.
Yeah, they reached out to me to give up that advice about Cristina Fuentes, and
Yeah.
I was like, "This girl is not like it seems. This
Yeah. It's
girl,
not a walkover.
yes, yeah. So just be careful because she can hit, and she's good."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, but you won unanimous decision." I was like, "Yes, I did," but to
She
me,
was
it was
tough.
hard. You know?
Yeah. She was just tough.
Yeah. Yes, she is.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
after they fought, like he came and he was like, "You were right. Like she wasn't an easy
She was
fight."
tough.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this
And there's
girl
a lot
has
of
a
them like that.
heart,
They're just they may not there's so many fighters that just never really got the wins. They were known as opponents, but
Yeah,
were tough as nails. Like they were
yeah,
tough. They
yeah,
just
because the
never got the win.
yeah, because the record is like probably like a bad record, like all
Yeah,
loses, but who their face, like all
yeah,
champions, you know?
exactly.
It's war
Exactly.
after war after like it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, I have a lot of respect for her. Obviously, she fought like
absolutely.
thousands of good girls in
Yeah,
different ways too. Because I remember we fought at 108, and then Heather Heath is like 122.
yeah,
It was a
yeah.
big
She
difference.
probably yeah, because Christina probably went all out like wherever she'd get fights. That's what
Yes.
they used to do. Like they don't care about the weight. They'll
Yeah.
just go
Yep.
wherever,
Yep.
which is hard. I don't know how they go up and down like that. I could never. But I mean, hey.
Yeah.
Um, but not long after that fight, you beat an International Women's Boxing Hall of Famer Carina Moreno, and
Yes.
I believe it was your ninth fight, which was a significant milestone and turning point in your career. Can you take us back and tell us a little bit about that fight and your thoughts and emotions during that victory over her? She was, I think, 22-2 at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's crazy, crazy story because remember the girl that I told you from Durango, the one that
Yeah,
beat me in my first sparring? So
yeah,
I actually never pay attention who was gonna be my opponent. But in this case, I look and I saw that that my opponent was from Durango. And then I look at it and I was like, oh my God, it's
that was
her.
her.
Yeah, it was her. And I was
Oh my
like,
God! Wow.
I was so excited, I was like, I'm gonna beat her. I mean, I'll be happy
You're
to
like,
see
I know
her,
her from when I
but
was 15 and she beat me up.
yes,
That
yes. So I
girl,
was like, this is my revenge, it's my chance. So I don't know if she probably looked at me,
it probably was like, I know her.
yeah, because she dropped the fight. So she dropped the fight. I don't know if 2 weeks before or a week. I can't even I can really tell. But then the replacement was Carina Moreno.
Okay.
And it was hard because I think it was even different weight. So I have to
Yeah.
move down in weight, I think.
Well, she didn't want to face you. What the heck?
Yeah, that's so
Again,
funny.
like
Yeah. And it's
you,
crazy because actually I found out later that she fought Kalisha. And I
Wow.
remember Kalisha told me, like, you can even find some of my opponents, like, she was like, they're not even good. And I never knew who she was talking about. She was talking about Elizabeth Cervantes. So there was the girl from Durango. And
Okay.
after that, so they changed. Yeah, yeah, it was Carina Moreno. So my coach told me, he called me and told me like, look, this is gonna be a risky fight. This girl, she has everything, you know, to win, and she's tough. She has experience. She's a former world champion. But he told me, but I believe in you. I believe in you, and this is boxing. You have to take risk. And I was like, okay, I mean, let's do it. And it's funny because at the weigh-ins, one trainer from I don't know what gym, he came to me and he's like, Cindy, who are you fighting? And I was like, Karina. I mean, is the only girl here, so who else, right? And he's
Right.
like, what? Are you crazy? Are your trainers nuts? She's gonna kill you. He told me that she was gonna kill me the
Yeah.
day of the weigh-in. I go like, how can you tell that to any fighter, right? Right before the
Yeah.
yeah, like,
I've had that happen to me before. Yeah, I've had
oh
that same
wow.
well, yeah, the same thing when I fought when I was getting ready to fight Mary McGee in Indiana. She was 17-0, and I think it was like my fifth fifth fight, maybe my fifth fight. And it wasn't my trainer. I was with Sam Colonna at the time. It wasn't him, but it was Willie, this guy that was always at the gym. Like he did like other stuff at the gym. But I was like, yeah, I got this fight, against Mary. Da, da, da. And he's like, she's like literally the best fighter I think I've ever seen. So I don't think you're going to win this one. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm going to beat her ass. What are you talking about? But
Wow.
yeah, and I was so then afterwards when I beat her ass and I came back and I said, "Look, I told you." And he's like, "Yeah, that was a great fight." And I was like, "I told
Wow.
you. You know I don't quit. Stop playing with me." But yeah, no, God
Yeah.
rest his soul, but he's not no longer here. But yeah, he was hilarious. But yeah, he said the same thing. But I was like, "What? You're supposed to be on my side. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Like you're from my gym."
exactly.
But so
Exactly.
anyway, go
I don't
ahead. That
get
just
it.
brought up a lot of memories.
Yes. So after that, I mean, I beat Carina Moreno, and it was just amazing because that fight put me in a very good place in boxing. So because of that fight, I get better opportunities to become a world champion and to be ranked too. And I think it was the most improved fighter of the year in 2012 because of that fight
Yeah,
with
in
Karina.
2012 WBAN
Yeah.
Fighter of the Year. Yeah.
And yeah, it was amazing. The thing is, like, I never got to see this trainer though. It was like I wanted to go back to him and tell, look,
Yeah,
okay,
like,
now
look,
what?
now what do you got to say?
Yes. And, it,
Nothing.
and actually, I saw him last year. It was 2 years ago. 2020. In 2020, because some of the trainers from Riverside, he passed away, Larry Rios, and we went to this candlelight, and everybody was, having speeches and telling something about the trainer. And then he came and took the microphone and he looked at me and he recognized me. And actually, he apologized to me in front of everybody because of
Oh,
that.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
because
like, oh,
he
well, I
was like,
mean,
I was wrong.
yeah, I
Well,
mean,
at
it's
least he
good.
admitted it. That takes
What
a
is
lot
it?
of guts for him to admit it
Yes,
in front of everybody.
exactly.
So at least
So
he
I was
admitted
I
it.
was happy with it. I was like, okay. I mean, at least he recognized that. But I don't think anybody has the right to tell you or to make you feel like you're less than than your
Yeah,
opponent because
right. You
just
can
for the
beat
simple
anybody
fact.
can be
Yes,
beaten.
exactly. I don't think it's right to say anything. If you think it of your mind, just keep it to yourself because
Yeah.
I mean that's not right. Maybe because you believe in yourself and me as well. But what if so many fighters they don't even believe in themselves? It's
Yeah.
hard to step in the ring when you have doubts and when you're facing especially like opponents are there, like in paper, like they're impossible to beat, you know?
Yeah. Well, and then
Like,
especially when people are telling you that you can't, like
yeah,
now that could just make you second guess, like, well, maybe, damn, well, maybe I can't. Well,
yeah,
maybe this is going to be really hard. Or, and if you get in your own head, then you're going to beat yourself. You didn't really
yeah,
lose to them, you beat yourself. So, yeah,
exactly.
people need to learn to just kind of, yeah, like you said, keep it to themselves until afterwards and then be like, man, I didn't think you were going to get that one, but good job or
Yeah,
something, you
yeah,
know. Don't tell me right before a fight and then try to get in my head. Now I'm like second guessing it. Like, what did I do?
yep, exactly.
Yeah. But not long, 2013, you were ranked number one in the US and number three in the world. How amazing did it feel to be ranked number one?
You know, I in my career as a boxer, it was just to me, it was like a dream. Everything was like so good. I remember like when I stepped in the ring, I felt like I actually was dreaming because all the emotions and the crowd and the people and but actually it was earned, and you know that. I mean, we
Yeah,
have to really really work hard and to become what we want it to be. It's not,
absolutely.
nothing is given. You have to earn it, and I deserve it because I really fought hard in boxing and in life, because
Yeah.
don't forget that we have a life after
Yeah.
this,
Outside of the ring. Yeah.
and it's hard. Things happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, life happens,
Yeah,
and that's for everybody across the board, not just female sports. That's male sports,
yeah,
all sports. But people, especially like fans, commentators, you know,
yeah,
trainers, even sometimes, I mean, everybody tends to forget that we all deal with things outside the ring in our personal lives. And yeah, we
yeah,
might leave it at the door when we come in the gym, but it's still waiting for us when we get out. And it takes a toll on you. So
yeah,
you just got to think of, everybody's dealing with something. And it may not be as big as what you're dealing with, or they may be dealing with more, but you just got to kind of take that into consideration when you're talking with people, that just because you're a world class athlete or you're a world champion or whatever the case may be doesn't mean that you're not dealing with something outside of the ring, or depression, or losing
yeah,
someone, or having to take care of someone, or whatever the case may be. We just don't let you know that side, or we don't show it to the
yeah. We
public.
enjoy
So
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
um I know, let's see, so after that though, July 26, 2013, you had your one and only loss to
yeah,
Jolene Blackshear, a former world champion, but by split decision. Do
yeah.
you feel like that she actually won the fight, or do you think that you deserved the win in that fight because it was a close fight?
I'm gonna be honest. I knew that I lost the fight. I mean, I know there's so many fighters that, as a fighter, in some cases you have your ego and you say, "Oh
Yeah.
no, I mean
Well,
it was."
it was a split decision though,
Yeah,
so it was close.
it was, but maybe because I don't know, maybe I'm just a little too hard on myself. That to me, a split decision, I felt that I really lost the fight just because I never got dropped, even in sparring. And she
Yeah.
dropped me not only once, but twice. And to me, I mean, she had a like very hard, strong right, and we work on it. We work on it during the training camp. We knew that she was
Yeah.
dangerous. She had the skill, a lot of experience, and but it happens. She got me, and to me, I mean, I was disappointed because I was beating her. It took me a while to go back and watch the fight. I couldn't because I was
Yeah.
like in shock. After maybe a year, I went back and I watched the fight, and I was like, I did pretty good. I mean, I was beating her the first 6 rounds. I got
Yeah.
dropped in the seven. I continued fighting, and in the eight, she really got me. Even though I continued fighting,
Yeah.
I finished the fight. And yeah, but I
Yeah,
think
and I mean, if you look at it that way, at that particular point, you probably were winning through 6.
yes,
And then the 2 when you got dropped in each round, that makes it a 10-8 round. So that
yeah,
gives her double points in those 2 rounds, which is probably
yes,
the only reason that you lost the decision.
yes,
Had you only been dropped once, you still may have come out with the decision because you won more than half the rounds. So
yes,
that's why it was so close, though.
yeah.
Too
It
bad
was,
you didn't get that rematch.
yeah. I mean, it's crazy because after the fight, because it's fun when you undefeated, you whole career and you have the support of people. But when you lost, you really see the reality. Like,
Yeah.
where the people go? Like, I
Yeah.
was by myself. I was alone. I was defeated. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. And I remember after that, like Yolene, she called me and she thanked me for that fight. And to me, that was very special
Yeah.
because not anybody do that. Like,
Yeah.
I never do that with my opponents. I mean,
Right.
we give a hug on the ring and whatever, but I usually never go back to them.
And
And
reach out. Yeah.
yes, and reach out. So she came to me and she told me that, it was a great fight. She took me and she told me very clear. She's like, you know what, Cindy, you are a great fighter and you are a good soul and your day is gonna come. She's like,
Yeah.
don't give up because your day is gonna come.
Yeah.
And to me that was special. I never
Yeah.
had a relationship with an opponent in boxing,
Right.
just with her.
Yeah.
And to me that gave me the encourage to, yeah.
Keep
I asked
going. Yeah.
myself after the fight, I was like, okay, everything was going good, it's nice to be fighting and winning, but now is the real test. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna give up or you're gonna keep working. So
Right.
I remember, I went back to the gym. Usually the fights are on Friday, so I was back in the gym in Monday, and I remember people came to me like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I was like, "I don't need pity, like,
Yeah.
just leave me
Let me
alone, and
train.
I'm gonna keep fighting. I'm gonna keep winning." And it's crazy because 3 months later, I got another offer to fight Amaris Quintana for another world title,
Yeah.
and I did, like, I improved a lot, not only in physically and
But mentally.
but mentally. Yes, I was like so ready. I had no doubt that I was gonna beat her because
Yeah.
I deserve it, and I just need to do that for myself.
Yeah. Well, you came back even stronger. You're like, I'm gonna I'm gonna right this wrong. Like that was a fluke type of thing. Like I wasn't quite prepared enough, so I'm gonna make sure I'm prepared this time. But you came
Yes,
back stronger than ever. And then
yes,
yeah, October of 2013, you became the IFBA Light Flyweight World Champion.
yes,
And so you finally solidified now that you can truly call yourself a world champion. So
yes,
that was great. So I mean, people always ask me like, what did it feel like when they said your name and raised your hand, like when I took the belt from Mia St. John? And I'm like, to me, it's indescribable. Like I
yeah,
could not describe the feeling. Like I couldn't put it into words, but maybe
yeah.
you can. What's the feeling when they raise your hand and say that you're the new world champion?
Like you, it's hard to tell in words. I
Yeah.
just felt like, wow,
Yeah. Like, is this
you,
real?
yeah, it's not even real. But again, it's just all the hard work that you put in the boxing game every single day,
Yeah.
because it didn't happen like from one day to another. It was, so many years of hard training and
Yeah.
sparring, and so that was the result. Like, I never give up,
Yeah.
even after the loss. I became stronger and I deserve it. I earned it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Totally agree. I totally agree. Not long after that, next year, 2014, you were given the opportunity to move up in weight and fight for the prestigious WBC title.
Yeah.
It was going to be the first female bout televised on pay-per-view. You're going to
Yes.
be getting the biggest purse of your career. How much were you? I don't mean you don't have to, but I don't think it matters at this point. But how much were you going to be making for that big fight? And what was the most you had made prior to that?
You know, I don't even remember how much was gonna be, honestly, to be honest. But in my boxing career, I did not make money. I
Yeah,
did not.
I
I
didn't either.
I think actually I probably make more with the fight with Carina Moreno than for my title shot. Like,
Yeah, and I bet you did. I 100% believe that you did because you were, if I remember right, wasn't she the defending or was it a vacant title?
uh,
I
I
I
think it
think she
was
was
weekend. Yes.
okay. Because I know, like for me, when I fought Mia St. John in Mexico for the rematch for her WBC title,
Yeah, it froze.
defending champion, and it was in Mexico. We just didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but again,
Um,
um, to me it was more like a personal satisfaction because I knew, everybody told me, like even my dad, he was always against boxing, against of me boxing because he was like, you're not making money, you're investing more, you should do like other thing, go to school, da da da. But when boxing is your passion, like you don't really
yeah,
care. And to
yeah,
me, like really like become a world champion. How many champions in the world, from one
yeah,
division? Like it's
exactly.
really, you're one in 1,000 girls. I mean, to me it's like something that I'm not regretted. And even if I
Yeah,
don't make money, I make a life that I
you made a
wanted to.
legacy.
Yes, a legacy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
2 weeks before that fight, though, is when you said you had suffered the retina detachment, which
Yeah.
had to cancel the fight altogether. Um, is that the reason that you decided to go ahead and retire was due to the injury?
Yes. And it wasn't of me. They told me like I cannot even go back in sparring anymore because I could go blind. They told
Yeah,
me right away. They did the surgery, but it got a lot of complications that they did other 6 procedures. And I'm just lucky to be, healthy and to be
yeah.
able to
See,
even drive, to do a
yeah,
normal life. Yes.
yeah,
And it's crazy because in my head I was like, that's what the doctor said, but I seen so many other fighters that they had retina detachment and they fix it and they go back to boxing.
yeah,
But in my case, it's not only the retina. During the surgery got complications and I got another illness on my eye where I see distortion on my left eye. So the
okay,
right eye is the one that is helping me to have, even my vision. But
yes,
it's so risky.
yeah, and you
Not
definitely
only
don't
can
want to take a
fix it.
punch. Yeah,
Yes.
they didn't, yeah,
Yeah.
want to risk taking the punch and
Yes.
having you go permanently blind, and they couldn't fix it.
Exactly. It's not worth it, right? I
No,
mean,
not worth at
you're
that point. And
making
you know
money,
what?
so why can you risk your life for nothing, right?
Yeah, no, and you had already become world champion. You had accomplished your goal. You had done so many things in your 4 year, your short pro career, to
Yes.
prove to the world that you were one of the greatest of all time.
Thank
There's
you.
no need to continue. That's
Yeah.
why after I won my title, I think I had a couple fights after that, and I got pregnant with my second child, and I was like, you know what? I'm not. I got 2 kids now. I need to take care of,
Yeah.
and I wasn't making any money. I mean, we
Yeah.
weren't making any money. You're losing money,
Yes.
and now I had 2 kids to take care of, and
Yeah.
it's a dangerous sport. So I was like, it's time to just be a mom.
Yes.
So
That's
not
good.
that I don't miss it every single day, since then, but that's life. I had
Yeah.
my title. I had my title, and I made the Hall of Fame. So
Yeah. And
I
you're
could I
healthy.
couldn't
You're
have
healthy
asked for
for your
more. Yeah,
kid. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you were also recognized by the governor of Durango, and
Yes.
received the keys to the city of Huntington Park How
Yes.
awesome and special was that experience?
It was very special, like I said, because probably boxing didn't give me money, but it gave me other satisfactions. Like, get the keys from Huntington Beach is like, it's priceless.
Yeah,
Something like many people dream to. I never thought about met, the president,
yeah.
or the
And meeting
governor
the
from the.
president. Yeah,
Yeah, so other satisfactions that they're just priceless. Like,
yeah,
you know, when and it happens to you obviously all the time when people come to you and they tell you such a beautiful things that they follow your career that you did this,
yeah,
that, like, that's an amazing feeling. I mean, it's priceless.
yeah. Absolutely, it 100% is. I know when I went to the inductions last year, there were tons of amateur fighters there, females that just wanted to be there, meet
Yeah,
fighters and stuff. And some of the things that people said to me, I'm just like, me? Like, are you sure you don't want to go talk to her over there? Like, but that's just, being humble. But
yeah,
yeah, it was very humbling and very special. Um, because I had been retired for like 10 years by the time I got inducted. And I at that point, I'm like, I'm forgotten. Like, nobody even
yeah,
knows who I am anymore now. Like, I've been out of the game for 10 years. Like, nobody's even going to know me. Um, like, even going to the inductions and meeting Christy Martin for the first time. And she's like,
wow,
I know who you are. You don't got to tell me who you are. And I'm like, what? Like, you know me? Um, but yeah,
wow.
so many of them. But yeah, I'm just like, how do you know me? Like, for real, you actually know me? And she's like, yes, I know your career. And I'm like, wow. But that was what was more special to me, people knowing that I just hadn't came across or whatever. But yeah, even fans that I met there, amateur fighters that had knew my career. And it was like, wow, like people really do know me, but it had been so long since
Yeah,
somebody like came up to me and was like, oh, like you're Brooke Dierdorff, you're the world champ. Like it had been so long that I'm like, oh, I'm forgotten. But you're really not in the boxing world. It's just everyday life. We're not in the boxing world. So
yes,
But
it's totally different.
you have left a legacy, Brooke,
Yeah.
and
Thank you. I appreciate that.
that's what
Yeah.
I
That means a lot.
and that's what I explain. I always remind Cindy about. I met Cindy 3 years ago. I'm from Riverside. I was in the boxing, but I got out of it for many years during her career. When I met her, I didn't know who she was. My friend
Yeah.
introduced us, and she goes, "You know the champ, right?" I go, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, the first Riverside champ right here." Like, what are you talking about? So, anyways, as we go around, and we nowadays we try to go to some local gyms and all that.
Yeah.
And even when we go to local events, there are people that come up to her and remind her. People that, whether they've been fans or ex boxers or even trainers.
Yeah.
Um, we have boxer friends that always say, "Oh man, if we weren't on the card fighting with you and we knew you were fighting, we had to go watch you fight." He says,
Yeah.
sometimes they'll say, you fought like two fight, you were on the same card 2 bouts before us, but I would always make sure I caught your fight before I went back to the dressing rooms and got ready.
yeah,
Yeah.
There's a lot of great stories, that have reached out to her and thank her for they've been going through a whole lot of things during their lives, and they thank Cindy for being that motivation, that model
Yeah.
for them to continue moving forward.
yeah,
And a lot of people always say how exciting, and you know that women's boxing, being that there's only a 2 minute round, you guys have to give it up your all.
Yeah.
And most women fights have always been like more exciting than men fights.
yeah,
Yeah.
She has been pretty much the only fighter that Thompson's promotion here in Southern California has ever had. Up to about 8 months ago, they had a female fight, and when we're walking out, the girl that won the fight turned around and saw Cindy, and she goes, "Oh my God, you're the girl that they have the poster in the office. When we went in to sign the contract, we saw your
Yeah.
picture." And little things like that
Yeah.
really means a
That's
lot.
like the most rewarding
yes,
Very humbling.
feeling out of
Yeah.
all of it. Like over having the belt and all that stuff is, yeah, just the helping other people or inspiring other people. I
yeah,
guess that's So that's the best feeling of the whole thing, really,
Yes.
is just leaving that behind and letting inspiring other people to box or fight things in life, even just
Yes.
in general. Yeah. The drive, giving them the drive or determination to keep moving forward. So yeah, that's the best part about the whole thing. I do know every one of us females, though, and I've told lots of my stories on my podcast. I don't know if you've watched many of them, but I share something new every time, I think. But we've all been through a lot of BS or things that we just should not have to go through or experience as females in this male predominant sport of boxing. Can you tell us like one or two of your worst experiences or things that you had to do or deal with that you should not have had to deal with as a female?
Well, the harassment, obviously. I mean, that's something that is hard. I mean, I'm sure like after those kind of situations, probably you wouldn't want to go back to the game and face, that people, that
Yeah.
those guys, I mean, but I was always a woman of courage, and I know how to how to defend myself in the case that you have the right, like if you feel like offended or abused, I mean, you have the right to defend yourself, and
Yeah.
to yeah, I mean, you have the right to be wherever you want to be, regardless if they want you or not, or regardless if they they don't have to come close to you if you don't want to. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, those situations probably were bad for me in so many occasions, in different
Yeah.
parts.
Different people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, I mean, just what can I say? It's hard, like especially when you're in your period, like sometimes you have fights and you don't
Yeah.
feel the best and you have to fight like that. I mean, I
Yeah.
fought in my period, and I had accidents during the fight, you
Yeah.
know, and it's just hard. I mean,
Yeah.
also I remember. Yeah, I mean, I felt sick and injured, and and I don't see those cases like some men, they just pull out the fight, for
Yeah.
any reason. And
Yeah.
us as a woman is like we go through a lot, and just to
Absolutely.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah. We just have to deal with a lot of negativity and sexism and all of that
Yeah.
all in one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a rough world, but if you're determined and you don't give up and you just let it go in one ear and out the other, typically you'll be
Yeah,
fine.
I'm
Yeah.
sure like in occasions that happens to you too, where other things like there's no one to spar, and this guy they don't want to fight or spar with
Yeah.
women, but at the
Yeah.
end they're taking a
Yeah,
beating
it
from
was
you.
either with the guys in the sparring, and I've said this before on here because people always ask, and that's a big question. People always ask, what was it like sparring the guys? And I was like, well, there was no females, so there was no other option. Like that's
Yes,
just how it was. And I
yeah,
didn't see them as guys. I saw it as a sparring partner. This is a
yes,
sport.
yeah,
But it was you had either one of two things. It was either well, I guess sometimes they would be a good sparring partner, but
yeah,
sometimes it was they didn't want to hit you or wouldn't hit you or really spar hard because they didn't want to hurt you because they saw you as a female,
yes,
or put the other shoe on and they would try to knock your head off because they didn't want to be embarrassed in
embarrassed.
front of everybody at the gym by a female.
Yes,
So that was the problem with sparring with the men, and that's what I've always told people. It was every now and then you get a really great sparring partner
yes,
that really worked and just pushed you, you
yes,
know, didn't try to hurt you, but pushed you. Because most men, unless they're smaller, they're naturally stronger. So they could really beat you if they want, just they could hit you hard. That's
yes,
just, but that was always my problem with finding good sparring partners as men was they either didn't want to hurt me, so they wouldn't really spar hard. So I
yeah,
wasn't getting anything out of it. Or it was, well, I'm not going to get showed up by a girl or a female champion, so I'm going to beat her ass. And they would try to
yeah,
hurt me.
yes,
So that was kind of like the two things. And I can remember a couple times I went to Chicago to spar with some guys that were actually, I don't know if they were pro at the time. They are pro now. I can't remember if they were pro at the time but really, really, really good amateurs, like national champions, like Olympic qualifying, like type people. And I remember going once to spar with a couple of them, and they were about the same size as me, actually. But yeah, they were like, he was like, I don't want to spar with her because of course now I was world champion at the time. So of course everybody's around the gym, like they're all crowding because they're all want to watch and see what's going to happen. But yeah, he was a really fast, he had really, really fast hands. But so at first, like the first round or so, like he was just hitting me with shot after shot after shot because he was so freaking fast. And I'm more of like, the brawler style. That's just was my style. I wasn't a boxer. I wasn't a pretty fighter. I'm like gonna hit you with everything I got type of fighter. So after I realized that he wasn't hurting me with the punches because they were fast, but he didn't have enough power to hurt me because we were like the same size. So I got him up on the ropes, and that's when I just let the body shots go. And then he started getting embarrassed. So then he just made himself look worse because he was trying harder, which was leaving him more open. But yeah, that's why I just always tell people it's really a hit or miss because they either want to not spar hard or they want to beat the crap out of you because they don't want to be embarrassed. Because then everybody's like, oh, you got beat up by a girl.
Yeah.
And it's not even about that. It's not about that. It's like we're both fighters. So it's just about the talent and your experience and everything. It has really, at that point, it has nothing to do with being male or female. It's just we're both great fighters. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's one of the problems that, especially her now, is there's more girls in the gyms than there was, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, they can spar with other girls.
Yes.
Yeah, we're about 65 miles east of LA, and in order for her to get quality sparring, she would have to go like to Duarte, which they had a few female fighters. As a matter of fact, what's her name that's being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Galicia?
No.
Ronda Luna.
Ronda Luna.
Yeah,
Ronda Luna, yeah.
Was the greatest.
Another great fighter. Yeah.
I love her. I learned a lot from her because she knows how to work with you, actually.
Yes.
You know? Yeah, she could work with anybody, any size, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Great fighter.
Yeah,
so that's just the respect thing. They just know how to step it up just a notch above what you're doing to push you to make you get better. That's like the thing about having a good sparring partner is, and that's the same thing. Like if I'm helping somebody else, I'm like, and I always tell everybody when I used to go all the time, even after I retired and I would work with people, I'm like, I will get in and spar with you, but don't try to tee off on me or do something stupid. Cause then I'm not going to try to help you anymore. I'm going to get the lick back. It might only be one lick, but you're going to feel that lick because you're being stupid. So I'm going to tame you down. So that was after I was, afterwards when I would go and help people, they would always try to do something stupid and I would get the lick back. And I'm like, I'm telling you, every time you do it, I'm going to hit you. So don't be dumb. Yeah. I'm trying to help you, help yourself. But but that's the thing. It's just, I would always want to just be just a step above what they're doing, just to push them to learn and get better, but not hurt them or make them feel embarrassed, because you don't want to deprive them of their, them believing in themselves by just beating them up. And that's why I always tell people, like, why do you get in there and just beat the crap out of that person that isn't even remotely close to being on your level because they're new, and then they don't want to come back anymore. You like literally just scared them off because you just beat the crap out of them, and you're a pro fighter or a renounced amateur fighter, and they're just learning their craft, and now you just made them feel like shit. So now they don't want to come back. So that's the problem with a lot of fighters. They just
that is.
They don't want to help other people.
And especially now with social media, with the explosion of social media, everybody embarrasses people, on social media. That's not right,
No.
People like
not at all.
Public. I mean, they make a public sparring. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah, they do.
That we use.
And that's I oh my God! Every time my husband and I both, like, we'll be scrolling through social media, through reels or on TikTok or whatever. And there's always these mismatched sparring sessions, and they post them on social media. And immediately both of us are always like in the comments, like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, clearly you know your way, but this isn't like, I'm not impressed. Like, you didn't show anything, and you didn't look impressive. You didn't look great. You look like a dumbass because you're embarrassing somebody who's not on your level.
Yeah.
Get in there with somebody on your level and then try to do that crap and see what happens. It's not going to happen. So it's just, I don't know. It's degrading is really what it is.
Yes.
And yeah. And then these other people have to see that their stuff is on social media, and now they feel really dumb because they just posted our sparring session when I'm not even, shouldn't even have been in there sparring with that person type of thing. So yeah, we always comment. And then my husband usually gets into arguments with people in the comments because it's like the people who posted or whoever, because they're always like, oh, whatever, like, I will beat your ass, da, da, da. And he's just like, oh yeah, okay. But yeah, they do that now. That's the bad thing about social media.
Yeah.
They misuse social media.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Keep looking at it and keep commenting, I guess, is all we can do. But the big announcement that everybody's probably, you're back in the buzz. The upcoming inductions into the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024. Tremendous honor. I will see you there for sure. I'm coming back as a Sue asked me to come back as a special guest, so I will be there. What does it mean to you? Yeah, it's phenomenal. And I'm so glad that this year they added the extra day, because like I told Sue after the inductions, it literally went by so fast. I feel like I couldn't even soak it in. Okay, because here was the problem. You go and there's so many female fighters that were at my inductions that I had never met, that I really just wanted to talk to. Like, I wanted to talk to them. But we went, and right before the dinner, they have like what was called the meet and greet, which I think it was like maybe an hour long, if I remember right. But so you go up there and everybody's there. And literally all you had time to do was walk up to each person that you wanted to talk to, if you even got to see them all, and be like, oh my God, like, you're so-and-so. Can I take a picture?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can I get your autograph on my glove? And then you had to move to the next person. Like, I was trying to see so many people, like even just take a photo with them, that I didn't even eat my dinner because I was still trying to get pictures with people that I had never met before. So, and then it was right after dinner, it was time for the ceremony, and it was over. Like, them to announce us, and then it was over. And I was like, I said, Sue, like, I didn't like there were so many people, like, I really just wanted to like talk to for a minute. And I really didn't get to talk to anybody. So I was super excited when she added the extra night. Like, I forget what it's called, but the day before, when you get to go and hang out with everybody for a couple hours before the ceremony. So that way you can kind of mingle and talk to everybody and actually kind of have a conversation, instead of, hey, can I get a picture with you? Cool. Gotta go. But yeah. So anyways, I'm super excited for you. Kalisha will be there. She's being inducted also. So there's so many. I'm super excited.
So many. Yes, it's gonna be I'm so excited, so thankful, because I never thought, that I will be inducted. I mean, my goal was to become a world champion, but see so many blessings after that in coming to my body, and just, forever thankful. Yes.
Yeah, to be recognized with and celebrated among so many other like amazing greats in the sport of boxing. I always tell people, obviously initially my overall ending career goal was Hall of Fame. But I just kept waiting, and I'm like, oh, it's been 10 years. It's probably not going to happen now. But it was kind of like it was a happy, sad moment for me, because that was really like the moment, like when you close the book.
Yeah.
And that like sealed the deal, that it was like over. Like, because that, I mean, you can't do any better than the Hall of Fame. That's like the last thing that you could hope for. So I tell everybody, it was like kind of like a sweet, sad, sentimental moment, because that's like really when you really have to face the fact that it's over now. Like, that's it. That's the end of the journey. But a great great honor to be there. So super excited for you for that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you to reach out to me and to do this interview. And I'm glad that you're doing this podcast. See, like you're still involved in the boxing game. That's gonna be forever. I mean, now with the
Yeah.
podcast, it's very nice that you give a chance to to the fighters to share the story and the struggle and everything.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Yeah, that was the thing when they reached out to me and I was like, oh, I don't know if I had time to do this, but I really want to do this. Like that would be cool. So I made time for it because I feel like in the main reason why I went ahead and decided to do the show and I made it, I would interview other fighters was I feel like not all of them, but a lot of today's fighters have forgotten about everybody in the past that
Yep.
paved the way for them to get the success that they're getting today. And I know that I was really big in my career. Like I always mentioned like my female role models, people I looked up to, people
Yeah,
from
me too.
before me that were great fighters. And I said, we wouldn't be here
Yeah,
without
me
all these
too.
past
That
great fighters. And I feel like a lot of them feel like since the Olympics came about, that they forgot all about the people who made the Olympics possible and
yeah,
made it possible for them to be on the platform they're on, because it wasn't one person that made women's boxing as big as it is today. It was all the way back to the very first female that ever laced up gloves and fought for us to be able to fight legally and with a license,
yeah,
all the way back to them. And each one of us kept fighting and fighting and fighting and pushing to build it to get the exposure that it's getting today. And I feel like not all of them, like I said, there's several still that pay tribute to past fighters, but there's several that don't. And
yeah,
I've watched them do interviews and be asked about female role models that they look up to or whose career, and they'll say guys. They don't even mention
yeah.
females.
And,
And I'm like, you have decades and decades of females that came before you. You
yeah,
can't tell one female that you thought was a great fighter that you looked up to from the past. Like, granted, I can see like back in our era, like before our era, like Christy Martin's era and
yeah,
Deirdre Gogarty and all them, like there wasn't really many before them. Like they were one of the firsts. So they looked up to men. But since then, there's generations after generations of female phenomenal, greatest of all time fighters that are going to go down in the history of the best of their eras that you can say that you thought was great and you followed their career and you looked up to them, or I got this punch because so and so did this or whatever, and they still say guys, and to me
yeah,
that makes me very frustrated.
And
yeah,
the
So
sad thing about it, like you said, it's been a few decades. It's not that far away that all
yeah,
these places, all these events took place.
yeah,
But that's what I keep reminding her about. Podcasts like what you're doing right now.
yeah,
Even though you don't feel you're part of it, but you're still sharing everything that has come before you guys.
yeah,
You guys are still trailblazers that open many doors to many of these young girls, even at amateur, national level, or even professional levels. When Sindy was still active and all that, you had Denise Estrada just starting out in the amateurs, starting to grow up and winning some of these nationals. Out here, you have Cobrita Reese. You have a lot of girls that are growing and they're going into getting ready to turn pro. But there are some that when we go to these gyms, they recognize her and they come up
yeah,
and you see that. I tell Cindy the difference between her and I'm still a fan. Even though I was a
yeah,
boxer, I never had those type of events of being, world champion or fighting in a card with world
yeah,
champions, things like that. So there's two different sides of it. And like I
yeah,
tell Cindy, these young girls, they haven't gone to those levels or experiences, and they still see her as that champion boxer when they were little. It takes them back in time. And
yeah.
I tell
It does.
her,
And that's
I'll
exactly why I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this because I'm going to get as many people as I can get to share their story with the world,
yep,
because I feel like to me, every single one of our stories is special. It's unique and you can learn from every one of our stories.
there's different
So
lives.
it will help future generations, future fighters. And I learned so, even though I feel like everybody I interview, I know their careers, I know a lot about it, I know a lot about the people individually, but I still learn something new about that person I didn't know when I do the interviews. So, and I have several amateur fighters that I met at the inductions that follow my show every Tuesday. And every time they'll text me and be like, man, I can't believe, like, I didn't know about all these fighters. Like, I learned so much from their careers and their paths. And so thank you for doing the show. So I just feel like I don't want people, one, I don't want people to be forgotten. And two, I want people to be able to tell their real, true story and the stuff that we go through as females from a fighter to a fighter. It's not a typical interview where people, like, I've done a million interviews. Well, most of them don't know shit about boxing. So they're just asking me questions that they just got out of a book, or who knows where they got it. They don't even know how to respond to the answer because they don't even know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So we can relate because we're both females and we're both fighters. And so I just think it makes for a better interview and a better experience because I actually have done what you're doing or have done. So I know what you're talking about. Like, we've both lived it. And I don't know. I just feel like everybody's story needs to be shared. And I'm hoping that eventually my podcast will grow big enough that all of the current fighters and future up and coming fighters will see the shows and they'll learn and learn about the past and the legacy of women's boxing, like all the people that came before them, because if they don't really research it, they don't know. They just don't know.
They have to learn that history,
Yeah, you have to learn the history of the whole sport. And I just feel like my biggest hope is that the girls will really start paying tribute to past fighters again, like we used to do back in my era. And just pay respects to the people that came before them. Guys do it. I mean, anytime they ask a guy about other guys, they'll be like, oh, I looked up to Roy Jones, or I looked up to Floyd, or I looked up to Muhammad Ali, or whoever the case may be, because there was somebody that they idolized. And women need to start idolizing past women.
Yes.
So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's just amazing stories. And I literally do learn something new every time. I'm like, man, I didn't know that. Or whatever, or I didn't know you did that, and sometimes though I do my research really well because I've had a couple of people be like, man, I forgot all about that, like I don't know, how did you even find out about that, because I never
you're really good at that. Yes.
And I'm like, hey, I do my research before I write out my show. I research so I can make sure that we get everything in there.
Sure.
But yeah, I have had one person like, how do you even know about that? Because I never talked about that. I'm like, well, I found it. So you're going to talk about it now. So people are going to know. But yeah, I don't know. I try to make it fun and I try to get everything out there. But skipping ahead a little bit, now you're doing bodybuilding, which you're doing phenomenal at, to stay in shape. And I don't know, probably kind of fill the void of missing boxing, something you can do. So tell everybody a little bit about what that journey is like.
Yes, I maybe because when I was fighting every time at the weigh-ins, I feel like my body transformed, totally. Like you dehydrate and you can see your back and your biceps and everything. And a lot of people always was telling me like, oh, you look like a bodybuilder. You don't look like a fighter.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, oh, maybe that's something I can do after boxing. I was thinking at that time. But it's not an easy journey. I retired 8 years ago, probably 8 years. And it wasn't easy to just become a bodybuilder. It took me a lot of years. It's like boxing, to find the right team, the people that really wants to help you in that journey, because it's not easy. Obviously, like even in boxing, when you first get into the boxing gym, you overweight. I mean, I always struggle with weight up and down all the time, even like as an active fighter, always like up and down my weight, up and down, because your period, because everything, like it's hard to maintain in one weight. And yeah, so for me, I was always, active, doing different things in different gyms. And I always feel like I wanted to try the bodybuilding thing. I
Yeah.
wanted to see that transformation of my body again. But yeah, it was hard until last year. I found this girl that she was doing kind of CrossFit in some other gym. So she got into the bodybuilding. She was getting ready, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! That's something that I always wanted to try." And
Yeah.
she's like, "Well, just come up. I'm having this show, and you can talk to my trainer." So then I went. I saw her perform, and she did amazing. And I talked to her coach, and I told her, I'm a former world champion. I mean, I have that mental. You know
Determination and
Yes,
drive. Yeah.
I mean, I know how it is in the sports. And she told me, it's great and everything, but we have to start from zero. Like, you have to do the weight loss challenge, and then we take it from there. Because if you wanna just jump in the bodybuilding, like, stage, you it's gonna be so hard in your body. So
Yeah.
I did the weight loss challenge. I was, a little overweight because, we like to eat. And,
Yeah.
it's not like when you're in prep.
When you're
And
fighting. Yeah.
yes, so I did the weight loss challenge. I dropped like 8 pounds in a month. And then after that, I was dealing with anemia, because I had some fibroids in my uterus. So I did the plan, the nutritional plan with my coach, and then everything was going to do good. I beat the anemia, and then I decided to compete. I did 2 shows in last year, one in September and one in October, back to back. And because my body transformed like so much, my belly went down. Obviously, I thought the fibers were shrink, but they grew, and I had to get surgery in January for that. They have to remove them. So I did the surgery. I was 12 weeks, bed rest, because they did a C-section. So it was really, really hard. And I mean, because, it wasn't a baby, it was,
Yeah.
some other thing. So then to me it was like so hard, the recovery process, that I was like, I want to jump back in competing again. I just
Yeah.
wanted to recover my body
Yeah.
from all that. So I decided to compete again this past June the 17th. It's like
Yep.
maybe 2 days ago. And I did compete in others division. I compete in bikini for the first time. uh, it was a little hard because it wasn't enough time to get that lean, but I did pretty good. Still,
Yeah.
I did fourth and fifth place, so it's a learning experience, and I know that I need to work more on it, more time,
Yeah.
and
Just more time. That's
yeah,
all.
yes, and yeah. Well, I hope next time to do better, and it's a process, but the
Yeah.
experience.
But you did phenomenal. You looked amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. You definitely look amazing. I need to, I don't know, try whatever you're doing.
Thank you.
I just,
Thank
I have
you.
a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah,
a
it's
kid at
hard.
40, so it wasn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't come off like it used to.
Yes. Yeah. The older you get, the harder, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's not like
definitely.
boxing that we can drop like 10 pounds in a workout. Like it's
Yeah, no, it's not the same
different.
now. Definitely not the
Yeah.
same in your 40s.
Yes. It's different.
Especially having a baby. It's not,
No,
it don't,
no.
it's not
Yeah.
like when you had a baby at 25 and it just went away as soon as the baby came out. It doesn't
Yes.
work like that anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
But the thing about it is, like, I seen, actually one of my friends, I got her into bodybuilding now, and she has like 2 kids too.
yeah,
And it's what I like about bodybuilding, because you can be like, you can have maybe regular life for many years, but once you decide to do the transformation, is like there's no limits. You see
Yeah.
people from even like 70 years old competing,
Yeah.
that never were in good form, in good shape
Yeah.
in the past, but they do it for the first time, and it's just like amazing. It
Yeah.
changed your life. Yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely amazing. You've also been very active promoting the fight against the war against drugs, talking with the youth to stay away from drugs, find something productive to do. Can you tell us a little bit about the program and you working with the youth to try to get rid of drugs?
well, I did a play in Hollywood in 2015. That it was talk about the drugs and everything. Then I get invited to go to different boxing games and talk to the kids about this and that, about my personal life. And
Yeah.
I felt like, thank God, I never got into drugs or alcohol, but I could have,
Yeah.
because when you have nothing, nobody to guide you, and you are around that kind of people,
Yeah.
we all exposed in school or wherever you go.
Yeah.
And
Peer pressure.
yes, I feel like boxing, it saved my life, because obviously the type of life that I have, my dad was an alcoholic, so, and it's easy,
To follow that. That's
follow.
what
Exactly.
what you see is what you do a lot of times.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And what happens, I'm sure it's similar in your area. A lot of the boxing gyms out here are in low income,
Yeah.
high crime
yeah.
communities. We have had several of the kids that are in different programs out here. Uh, they've been killed because of
Yeah.
the drug and the gang
Gangs and drugs.
addiction and all that. And sometimes they're just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
We just lost Danny Gonzalez. It's going to be 2 years ago. Very bright individual,
Yeah.
signed by Mayweather and everything, and going home to go visit his mom, just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So yeah, just trying to promote and try, sharing her story of all the obstacles she had to overcome.
Yeah.
There's always someone there for you. You just have to ask and reach out.
Yeah.
And a lot of these gyms that we go to, there's always one or two good coaches that are willing to listen. Most of all,
Yeah.
sit down and listen to these kids and offer them some kind of a help, or if not even help, sometimes just give them the belief of faith, believe in
Yeah.
yourself.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. Sometimes all they really need is just someone to listen, and someone to really listen to them, and something just to occupy their time so they're off the street.
Yeah.
That's
Sure.
really all they need. Even if
Sure.
they don't want to do it as a career, it's just something to pass the time until you can get out of the situation that you're in.
Yep. Sindy had a young lady just reach out to her about a month ago, thanking her for being a role model. And every time, she had just graduated from junior high school, and she thanked Sindy because she kept, remembering and bringing up Sindy. Every obstacle she came through, she had to overcome it as well. And she was so excited to make it through high school that she said that she would keep up with Sindy and keep her updated on her progress.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of mentor, you're mentoring her basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Keep her on the right path. That's awesome. Totally
Thank
awesome. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media to stay connected with you, and what you're doing with your bodybuilding and the youth programs that you're doing and all that. Where can they follow you?
They can follow me at Instagram, alacrana_Amador, and Facebook, Sindy Amador, Sindy with an S, and official Sindy Amador with an S too. Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect.
Thank you.
Was there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap it up today?
I'm just very glad and thankful to be here with you. Thank you for taking me in consideration for your show. I really appreciate it. I feel, honored to be here and very happy. It's good to remember those things that usually we forget in our daily life,
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like
it's fun to reminisce.
yes,
Memories. Yeah.
yes.
Well, before we head out, what is a message that you would like to send out to maybe all the young girls that are watching, inspired by you, that want to start a boxing career? What's a message you would like to send to them?
Just keep going no matter what. Be consistent, keep going, and until you get to your goal and to your dream,
Yeah.
because life isn't easy, but no matter how hard it gets, if you're focused and you just keep working hard and keep going, your day will come, and
Yeah.
everything's gonna be worth it as long as you keep working hard, persistent, and focused. Yes,
Yeah.
don't get
Absolutely.
distractions about people. There's always gonna be people telling you things like they did to me. Even your own family, sometimes
Yeah.
they just your enemies
Yeah.
probably. They don't believe in you. You get criticized by so many people. But
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you have your desire and put the work, everything's gonna come to you.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our interview today. Thanks again so much. It was amazing to hear your journey. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for finding the time to come on. I will see you in October.
Okay, yes. See you in October.
All right. You have a great night.
You too. Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for
you. Bye.
bye.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining me tonight on No Punches Pulled with No Mercy. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Please like, subscribe, and share. Spread the word. Let's get some more people in here every single week. There is also donate button below. If you like to click that, it goes directly to me and my show. Be greatly appreciated, but of course, not necessary. I just appreciate your presence. Please do, though, make sure you are following me on social media so that you can stay up to date on the show and who's going to be on the show from week to week. I have 2 pages, of course, No Punches Pulled with No Mercy, and my public profile on every social media, Brooke, No Mercy, Dierdorff, #Millbrook, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of the above. I hope you enjoyed the pre-recorded show. Sorry we weren't live with you guys today, but if you left comments, I will make sure that we get your questions answered. They will get them to me, and I will make sure we get you answers. So please feel free still to ask your questions in the comments. I will get with Sindy and ask them, or be happy to answer the questions for you if they're for me. But thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me tonight on No Punches Pulled with No Mercy. I will see you all again, same time, same place, next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the next episode of No Punches Pulled with me, No Mercy. But until then, punch hard. Nothing else matters. Have a good night.